What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching IronMag TV episode 8. Can you believe it? It's technically 9 because I did that special video. It's 8. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about IronMag TV. What the hell happened? So many people ask me every freaking day. I get a text of some sort related to IronMag TV. Whether people are giving me shit for things I didn't do, whether they're making fun of me, which hey, come on, or they're just bitter and would like to see it come back. Recently, a lot of folks have been writing me up Beast Coast Live, which is a show that I loved. It featured. Well, we'll get there. We're going to get there. So IronMag TV, a little bit of history, started in 2017. The owner of IronMag Labs, Robert DiMaggio, was not seeing a lot of return on investment, a lot of advertising he was doing. And I had been writing articles, and he was advertising on Strength Addicts, my personal site. And we just got to talking. I've known Rob since 2011. There's a lot of history there. And he needed someone to basically run his social media. My title was marketing director, but I wasn't the marketing director. I was a social media director. I was talent. That's what I was. I wasn't a marketing director per se. I wasn't involved in marketing decisions. I was a social media manager, social media director, if you will. That would have been the more appropriate title. And I told him, I said, listen, Rob, it's sort of the same thing I'm telling him now, which is we need original content, And a lot of people, a lot of these websites blame me for Rob no longer advertising with them. If I told you how much money Rob was dropping on each of these websites each month, you would drop dead. Now, for the smaller websites like mine, at the time, Evolution of Bodybuilding, Rising Muscle, that category, I feel like the money was good. It was good money. It was good return on investment. It was justified. But the big sites, RX Muscle and others, the money was pretty insane. It was pretty huge. And I don't know that he was getting return on investment. And I can talk more about RX Muscle because I used to work with RX Muscle through a third-party company, myoatmeal.com. Now it's owned by True Nutrition, but I worked with MyOatmeal when it was owned by Anthony Kalova. And I was the lead person between MyOatmeal and RX. And I don't want to get into specifics, but I don't think Rob was seeing the return on investment that he envisioned. So Rob made the decision to change the marketing direction. A lot of people blame me for it. I don't know if you guys know Robert DiMaggio, but nobody tells Robert DiMaggio what to do. I certainly don't tell Rob DiMaggio what to do. So he, I believe, liked what I was saying, and so went with my vision. And my vision was to create IronMag TV. Now, IronMag TV is on life support right now because it's got one show, this one. But my hope is to bring more shows back to it because I am a big believer in original content. So we started out, Gregg Valentino had been fired from another publication, whose name I don't mention. I had been on that publication 5 or 6 times, did many interviews, but when I got brought on and the marketing direction of IronMag Labs changed, some things were said and things were done that I cannot forgive, and so I just don't, it is what it is. So when Gregg was fired, I raced to him, and I said, listen, I can give you a great deal. I can put you on the map again. I can do what Generation Iron does for you, and even go beyond that. And I did. Gregg made more money with IronMag TV than he did with Generation Iron, and way more money than he did from the company that fired him for a lot less work. Gregg busted his ass for IronMag TV. He really did. But what he did for that other publication was insane. For what he was getting, it was almost downright slavery. Okay? So when we brought Gregg on, one of the first things that I did was I talked to Rob and I said, listen, we need to maintain a link to at least one powerhouse website, at least one. And of course, you guys know my very deep loyalty and connection to muscular development. So once that became clear, I got on the horn with Steve Bleckman. Now I was already negotiating a show for myself backed by IronMag Labs at Muscular Development. But at this time I said, Gregg is in the picture. Gregg and Steve had not spoken since Gregg had been fired from MD. There was some unemployment issues there, court issues. They hadn't spoken. And of course, the publication that Gregg used to work for, as well as many appearances on RX Muscle, he was kind of like put in a position to be adversarial with Steve. But Gregg has always liked Steve, always respected Steve, and that respect is mutual. So I said to Steve, listen, we got to get you guys talking. Once I was able to accomplish that, then I reached out to my good friend Rick Drazen, who recently passed away, unfortunately, and I said, Rick, I was Rick Drazen's first Skype interview. And I said to Rick, I said, Rick, I don't know if you've ever interviewed Gregg Valentino, but I think it'd be a great interview for you to do. So while, and Rick was already, if he wasn't all, no, he wasn't doing Tips from Rick yet, which was his spinoff from Rick's Corner at IronMag TV. But it was kind of like right before then. And so I said to Gregg, I said, listen, you got to do Rick Drazen's show. You got to do it. You absolutely have to do it because it's a great opportunity. So he did it. While he was doing that interview with Rick Drazen, his friendship with Steve Blackman was strengthening. By the time that interview came out with Rick Drazen, Gregg was about to start his first Momo Mafia over at MD. Now, a lot of people said, well, why don't you just become the Ramblin' Freak? That's what you always were in your column. So it was decided that Momo Mafia would be IronMag TV. He would be the Ramblin' Freak again for MD on his video series. I would do the Iron Duke Speaks, or whatever the hell my show was called. I think it was called MD Noble Weekly is actually what it was called. So you had me and Gregg at MD. You had me and Gregg at IronMag TV. At that point, I said, listen, we got to build this network up more. So since I knew that, so I think Comerica Muscle had come on and wished me a happy birthday or something like that. And as a result of that, got canned from the previous publication. So me, you know, wanting to help him, feeling bad, I offered him a gig. It was not a lot of money. I wanted him to prove himself. I was advised against it, but I said, listen, I'm just going to give this guy an opportunity. Plus, at the time, we were taking a lot of heat from this publication. So I said, let me just give it back to him a little bit. So we brought Comerica on. He did a couple of episodes. I thought the first episode was very, very good. The second episode, from what I understand, he spent like 45 hours editing it. I'm not really sure why, because I mean, I've got Power Director, you know what I mean? I do video software editing. I didn't need him to do all that, but he did, and I appreciate it. But later it was thrown in my face, and so that's fine. At the time, we also had the real Chris Bra, who was very, very talented. I still believe he's very, very talented. I needed specific work done. Listen, guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm a very, very picky, supervisor. Very, very picky, whistleblowing coach. That's my job. That's what I was supposed to do. Rob had a certain way of wanting to see things done, and that's what was done. So our network was growing. We had the real Chris Bra. Now we had Comerica Muscle. We had Gregg Valentino. I brought Jerry Branham on for one episode. I don't think that Jerry and IronMag TV were ever really in sync. He was more accustomed to doing things that promoted his newsletter with Generation Iron, I believe also RX Muscle. I helped Jerry get on an RX Muscle after a lot of, wrist twisting, or whatever you want to call it, with Dave Palumbo. I have all the emails, and like got him on there, whatever, that's fine. Big deal. He doesn't remember that, but that's okay. But I love Jerry. Jerry is an authority. He gets mobbed at expos. People are like, Jerry. I'm serious. That's how smart the guy is. But that didn't work out, and I brought Rick Drazen on. Rick Drazen did 4 episodes of Tips from Rick, but I have a couple more in the can that were never released, and they might get released. I have to see how we work that out. Big Frank had been dropped from 5%. A lot of people had been dropped from 5%. I felt bad. I gave him a series, Ask Big Frank. It was a weekly YouTube series, and then when we saw him at the Arnold, I told Rob, I said, listen, we got to sign this guy. He had said, Gregg had told us that another company who is now sponsoring some other stuff wanted Big Frank, which actually they didn't, but that's not important. We had to make a decision. And I told Rob, I said, look, we got to sign this guy. This guy's gigantic, and he's got his weekly video series, and so we agreed to sign him, and we doubled what 5% was giving him. So that's kind of cool, right? The Sunday of the Arnold, we did a video for Ask Big Frank, which was his weekly video series, with a guy named John Hainoski outside. John Hainoski would then have the Lion's Den, I believe his show was called, later on. I brought John in because I thought that would be good for Frank to have, an arm wrestling guy, a friend of his on there. And John did a fantastic job. And that's kind of why I also brought Comerica Muscle on, because he was a friend of Gregg's. And I thought it would be good for Gregg to have a friend of his there. And that lasted 2 shows. It was good, but it lasted 2 shows. Because of my connection to MD, and because I had always seen all the great posts that Chris Sagoon Griffin and Big Mike Cox did, this is before Big Mike Cox, but I asked Chris Sagoon Griffin to have a show. The first show that he had was called Down and Dirty with the Goon. I loved Down and Dirty with the Goon. A lot of people love Down and Dirty with the Goon. I got blamed for Down and Dirty with the Goon going on hiatus. I had nothing to do with that. What happened was